researchers will not take the dead orca calf away from its mother, as she carries it into the 17th day. 17th days after the calf has died, and she's carrying it around, trying with hope to bring it back to life, carrying it around above the water, hoping that it would breathe. This is from the Seattle Times, Linda V. Mapes. As Talika carries her deceased calf for the 17th day, the concerns mount about her health. Taking the calf away is not an option because of the tight bond between Talika and the rest of the pod to her baby, dead or alive, experts say. Quote, "These are very intelligent animals, and the loss of this animal is quite profound for the matriline and everyone who witnesses it," unquote, said Sheila Thornton, lead killer whale scientist for Fisheries and Oceans Canada. She saw Talika continuing to carry the calf Tuesday as J-Pod traveled south to the outer coast of Cape Flattery, Washington. Ken Balcom and the Center for Whale Research on Thursday saw Talika still continuing to carry the calf, which was born July 27th, for the 17th straight day. He estimated she has carried the calf more than 1,000 miles. The carcass is starting to come apart. The calf's insides were visible atop Talika's head Thursday morning, yet still she clings to the body of her baby. Thornton said, quote, "I certainly think the length of the situation is unprecedented. There are many species who do undertake this sort of behavior. If a young animal has failed to survive, they will carry the carcass. You can look at that as a mourning behavior," unquote. Several recent scientific papers and publications have documented grieving behavior in whales and dolphins, and scientists working in the Salish Sea have themselves witnessed similar sad sights of mothers carrying deceased calves. Because of the tight bond between Talika and her calf, as well as the bond shared by the rest of the pod, there is no plan to take the calf away. Quote, "That is not on the table," unquote, said Brad Hansen, wildlife biologist with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Northwest Fisheries Science Center in Seattle. Scientists are worried that Talika, or J35, is not getting adequate food because she has been carrying her baby for so long. Quote, "We have obvious concerns about the displacement of her behavior away from foraging and feeding to carry the calf, and concerns over the length of time of this behavior as it continues, and the possibility of decreasing her ability to forage effectively," unquote, Thornton said. "It's not known if her family is foraging for her and feeding her," Thornton said, and she could not get a good enough look at her from the water Wednesday to assess her condition. Because Talika was pregnant, it is possible she began carrying her deceased calf with an extra boost of lipids in her blubber that could be helping her now, said Dawn Noreen, research fishery biologist at NOAA's Northwest Center in Seattle. Dolphins she has studied have an extra rich layer of blubber at pregnancy to prepare for the tremendous energy costs of lactation. Quote, the assumption is that she could be fortified like a dolphin, unquote, Noreen said. Quote, "The other concern is that she might be food limited," unquote. An adult female orca of Talika's size could typically go for a month without eating and surviving, Noreen said. But what is unknown is her condition going into pregnancy and after the loss of it. "One thing that is certain," Noreen said, "is that the work of pushing the calf day after day through the water adds physical effort to her burden of loss." Meanwhile, biologists and veterinarians mobilized Thursday to attempt to prevent more losses in the imperiled J-Pod family, with J50, age 3, feared to be near death from starvation. The orca may also have an infection. The plan on Thursday was to provide emergency assistance for the whale with a visual medical assessment as well as a shot of broad-spectrum antibiotics. A medical team was speeded to race rocks across the Strait of Juan de Fuca from Port Angeles as of 1 p.m. to see if the conditions are right to attempt to help her. The Lumni National is also standing to provide live Chinook salmon for the young whale. The fish could be a vehicle to deliver medication to her that cannot be administered any other way. The fish are being delivered by truck from a Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife hatchery in Marble Mound, Skagit County, for loading into a tote to the Lummi Nation's boat. The initial plan was to take the fish from seiners to reef netters, a maneuver the Lummi practiced Monday with success. But catches of Chinook are too unreliable for people and whales to get enough fish for J50. At least 15 hatchery fish will be transported for the whale, with more in reserve. Efforts may also be made to collect a sample of her breath using a petri dish on a pole. However, Hansen said conditions have to be just right to do so. The blow of a young whale is only about 1.5 feet high, so winds must be calm and the whales close in order to collect the sample. It's also not only a matter of weather. The whales themselves have to be in the right position and behavior to attempt a medical intervention. If they're busy traveling, biologists cannot just push into the pod. However, if J50 is off by herself, quietly resting or foraging, that could present an opportunity. With high winds predicted to be moving into the Strait of Juan de Fuca over the next several days, there was little time to waste to come to the whale's aid, if they come into range and the conditions are right. Hansen said, "We are ready to go." People from around the world are following these trials of the southern resident orca clan, down to only 75 animals. More than 1,000 readers responded to an invitation by the Seattle Times to share their thoughts on J35 and the other orcas. Many expressed surprise at just how powerfully watching Taleka has affected them. But Roxanne Sperry, a cancer researcher and theology student beginning a ministry as a veterinarian chaplain, said such feelings are common, as is the sense there is no place to take them. Quote, "This type of grief in people often goes underground, and it's just a dog or an animal, and move on. People go underground with these feelings. They are delegitimized, but it's very, very real," she said. She was following Taleka's story from Lawrencetown, Nova Scotia, and like many around the world is moving by the whale's plight. In people, witnesses such distress in an animal can also be a portal that opens to deep unresolved grief over losses with their own children and other loved ones, Perry said. That includes pets, a bond that continues after an animal's death, just as with other losses of a person. Yet, a lot of times in society, that type of grief goes unrecognized, she said. I'll leave a link below for you for this on phys.org. Kindly support by contributing to my Patreon account. You'll find it in the description box below. Thank you.